Yes, the Casanovians. Yes, the Casanovians. Don't know if you can hear the sirens outside. It's because they know I'm about to drop a criminal amount of value onto you boys. Anyway, right, I woke up this morning. I was like, I want to do like a really transparent, vulnerable, raw, authentic live stream from something that I used to really struggle with for many years of my life. And I guarantee this is something that many guys worldwide are either struggling with, or they've struggled with in the past, or maybe they're struggling with it right now. And it's the fear of not being able to please a woman sexually, like not being able to live up to these certain expectations, feeling as though if you do the wrong thing or you're not very good, then you are somehow gonna lose value in the eyes of the feminine. And it forces you to approach, let's just say, making love with women as this make or break situation. Yeah, rather than actually enjoying yourself, you're seeing it as this performance that you need to do well. And if you're anything like I used to be, I was in this very scarce mindset. Yeah, so back when I first started learning daytime cold approach, I would go out, I would meet women, I would get phone numbers, I would go on dates, and then usually as soon as I got the phone number and I got the impression this girl was on, that's when all of those anxieties started to kick in. I would project into the future. I would imagine going on the date with this girl. I would actually be scared of succeeding. Yeah, I was scared of my own success. I was thinking, yeah, but what if this date actually goes well? What if we end up going back to my place and for whatever reason things don't work? Maybe I can't get hard. Maybe I come too fast. Maybe. What if? And I was just in this very dark place in my life. For many of you that will have followed my content religiously, I used to suffer with porn addiction. Yeah, I used to be addicted to porn. That resulted in me having bad erectile dysfunction. Yeah, because I was watching so much porn. I was watching these guys on the screen with their Adonis physiques, their gargantuan schlongs. And then after I nutted, I would look at myself in the mirror and think, oh, I don't live up to these standards. I was like, oh, my dick isn't big enough. My body isn't sculpted enough. I'm not seductive enough. I'm not whatever enough. And honestly, man, it caused so much dysfunction physically and mentally. I honestly never thought I would create pieces of content like this. Like, I remember going through those dark nights of the soul. I used to go on Reddit forums because I wanted to find out, are there other guys who are like 25 years old who are also struggling with this dilemma? And yeah, it went on for a long time. And I'm really making this stream for a former version of myself who felt lost, who felt alone, who felt afraid. And I hope that you boys find value in this as well, because I think learning cold approach is one thing, right? That's a great place to start. But I do believe it's in the arena of building sexual relationships with women. That's where the real bond is created. Yeah. And that always used to terrify me because I got really good at, let's just say, the front end side of things. I was good at the 5-minute sales pitch. I was good at presenting myself as a confident human being. But when it went from the streets to the sheets, it was like there was a completely different version of me there. And I think because I always struggled with women, I always had this scarcity mindset, like this needs to go well, otherwise I don't know how long it's going to be. And the more things didn't work out, the more I got into this self-limiting cycle of worrying about the next time. So honestly, dude, the best piece of advice I can give you, if you're somebody at the moment and you are approaching sex with a logical, analytical mindset, maybe you're worried about not getting hard, maybe you're worried about nutting too fast, maybe you're terrified of losing value in the eyes of the woman, then the best piece of advice I can give to you is you become good in bed when you actually stop giving a shit about being good. Like, the best piece of advice that I ever read, I actually think this was on a Reddit forum, was reject the need for guarantee. Like, my mindset for approaching sex was the same for approaching any new discipline. But I think because in the realm of sex, I think my ego got more attached to it. I was like, I want to be good at this, right? But by almost viewing this in this masochistic way of being its own self-improvement exercise, I was able to surrender to the experience more. I was able to have made peace with the perceived failure in advance. And then I was simply just able to enjoy the moment. I was able to be grateful that I'd actually found a great woman who wanted to go to bed with me. And by rejecting my need for guarantee, by removing the excess importance I was placing on a particular outcome, over time, gradually, with each new successive partner, I started to get more comfortable. Because for me, it was always just the first time. It was always just the first time that I found the hardest. The hardest. As soon as I did it with a new person once, I was fine. It was just getting over that initial hurdle. And all of this was being concocted in my own mind as well, from the porn that I was consuming, I think from even just mainstream culture in general. I've noticed there is a big emphasis which is placed on casual sex, on hooking up with random people. And I think in these situations as well, it's important to acknowledge your nature. And I've learned this about myself. I'm not that guy who can just meet a girl and then 30 minutes later is like going at it with that person. Like, I actually need to feel comfortable. I personally need to feel as though I've got a connection with this girl. Like, I need to feel almost safe in her company in order for me to actually be able to enjoy the experience. I think actually being able to honor your nature and not subscribing to all of these different ideologies like, oh, what makes a guy high value is just sleeping with as many women as possible. You should just be able to perform like a robot on the spot. That there are so many beliefs that get, I think, flooded into the minds of young men, which can make you feel inadequate. But as soon as I just started giving myself permission to suck, give myself permission to enjoy myself. Like, dude, I am forgettable for so many women, but I'm so grateful for those women who I'm forgettable for, because they were all stepping stones for me to actually get to this point where I actually feel good now. Like, I actually feel comfortable when it comes to having sex with new partners. Obviously, I've got my girlfriend now, and yeah, like, we had sex this morning and it was amazing. It was great. It was unbelievable. And I remember being 23 years old when I was living in that grotty apartment in Leeds. And I've never shared this before, but it's really weird how the universe works. I made this note to myself. I used to write down a lot of things. It helps me to get my thoughts out. And I said, between 23 and 27 will be the experimental years, right? So I gave myself this 4-year time window to quote unquote get good at sex. So I used cold approach to meet the women. And then once I met the women, once I was getting the numbers, I was going on dates, I was then using this window of time to become the version of myself who's speaking to you today. And it's so weird how it all transpired. Like, I'm 27 years old now, and this is the first time in my life, really, that I finally felt in control of my overall sex life. Like, I just don't have those self-limiting beliefs about myself anymore. And I think this has been stacked through positive reference experience and also finding the right partner as well. You know, I think this is an important thing for guys. I remember when I was meeting women and I was trying to, as one of our guys in the Entourage would say, sling some Johnson. I remember almost forcing myself to put on a show for women that I wasn't actually attracted to, like women that I didn't even necessarily like as a person. And for me now, it's like, if I don't like this person as a person, then there's very little satisfaction. And also there is a high likelihood that things are not going to function. So it takes two to tango. I remember reading The Alabaster Girl by Zan Perion, and there's actually a section in that book where he talks about a man's sexual journey, and there's 3 stages that a man goes through when it comes to finding himself in the realm of lovemaking. And he explained that the final stage was when the man took responsibility for his own pleasure. He was no longer being a bedroom technician thinking, oh, should I do this? Should we switch to this position? Should I say this thing? It's like he says in the book, the best lovers please themselves through her body. And by doing that, you send a woman to place in her mind that she's never been before. And I've seen that, I've witnessed that firsthand now with my current girlfriend. I shared a story a long time ago. It was earlier in the year. It was the day after I just had a near-death experience. I won't go into the details of that. But I remember I was with my girlfriend and we were like doing our thing. I remember bringing her to orgasm by just speaking, like whispering into her ear. Like there was no touch, there was no physical contact. It was purely by my voice alone. I was like, dude, what the fuck is this? This is like some Rasputin mystical shit. I didn't even know this shit was possible. But I think it comes from, for me anyway, the connection that I've got with that person. So I think if you're a guy at the moment and maybe you've got self-limiting beliefs about yourself, maybe you've tried hooking up with a few random girls and things have not worked out, and then it's so easy to go into that cycle of like worrying about the next time, what if this keeps going on forever, what if I never get this fixed. Like there was a period of my life where I genuinely thought that I was never going to get this fixed, and I tried writing it down. I actually had conversations with like sexual performance therapists. I remember this one woman that I spoke with in Leeds. We tried like talking things out. That wasn't that useful because I'm somebody who enjoys just like exposure therapy. I knew the only way for me through this was through this. I knew that I just had to make myself viciously uncomfortable, like accept and make peace with the worst case scenario, and also just view all these experiences as me leveling myself up. And honestly, I like I say, I never thought that I would have this conversation publicly on a live stream. This was just almost like my like dark secret that I never wanted to admit to the world, because it almost felt like like demasculating in a way. Because like, dude, no one talks about this stuff. No one talks in a world of hyper masculinity where you'll get all of these red pill commentators who are just like, oh, you need to be a high value man, never show emotion, never be honest. And it's like, I don't subscribe to that. For me, if you actually want to be one of these so-called high value men, then I prioritize radical authenticity, right? And it's like, by doing that, there's nothing anybody can say to me which is going to offend me anymore. Have you ever watched the film 8 Mile by Eminem, where it's like that rap battle, and he just says everything about himself? Like, he criticizes himself. He's so open, he's so transparent, he's so vulnerable and authentic that when it comes to the other guy trying to criticize him, there's nowhere left to hide anymore. So you're probably not at that stage right now where you want to start talking to your friends about, oh, by the way, my boner, I'm not getting a boner with these new girls. Oh shit, what do I do? So that's fine. But first thing is just give yourself permission to suck, give yourself permission to be forgettable. Don't try too hard to be good in bed. Like, that's the reason usually why you're having this dysfunction. Maybe you're nutting too hard. That one isn't actually that bad. Like, if you just own it, you're absolutely fine. Like, if you meet a girl and it's just like things just get really heated and you just bust really fast, just own that shit. It's actually a massive compliment for her, as long as you're not apologetic about it. I used to do this. I used to, like, when I overcame I can't get a boner, the next thing was I was just nutting in like 20 seconds. And I would always just be like apologetic about it. I was like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, oh, maybe we can do it again tomorrow. It's all this fucking nonsense. So I just started to own it. I was like, fuck, like, you were just way too hot. Like, I couldn't even control myself. And she was absolutely fine with it, right? The girl is your mirror. She'll feel what you feel. As long as you're fine with it, as long as you're not being a little kiss ass and apologizing and putting her on a pedestal and devaluing yourself because you did something that you perceived to be wrong, dude, you're absolutely fine. I think just being able to humanize this whole thing, like, yeah, like, shit doesn't always go as planned. A smooth sea never made a skilled sailor. I remember I had this little collection of motivational quotes. I would always read them to myself, like, yeah, a smooth sea never made a skilled sailor. Throw me in hell, I'll find a way to enjoy it. But it's almost like my hindsight practice has become my foresight practice. And like, this is coming from somebody who I never genuinely thought that I would become good in bed. Like, I always thought that I was just going to be that guy who was really good at the acquisition but terrible at the retention. Because I remember learning that really to create those powerful bonds with the feminine, all of the rest of the things kind of go out the window. Like the value that you can bring when it comes to maybe finances, maybe you're humorous, so you're funny, and maybe you've got a cool lifestyle. It's like all those things, they kind of fade in comparison to your ability to actually connect with a woman on a biological, sexual level. So it is an important part of, let's just say, the game, but you don't want to attach too much importance to it, because that's when things like don't actually work. But I think this is important. I think it's an important conversation to have, because I know there will be so many guys out there who are putting a lot of focus onto the acquisition type side of things. So like fitness, fashion, finances, going out there, cold approaching, improving their conversation skills, going on dates. But there's this fear in the back of their mind where they're scared of when things get heated, they won't be able to do the thing, and then they lose the woman, and then maybe they're scared that the woman will talk about them to her girlfriends. And if you live in a small town or city, you're worried about word getting out that you're the guy who can't get a boner. Like, dude, honestly, I could genuinely write a book on all of this stuff. I've had all like the full kaleidoscope of experiences, of doubts, of fears, of self-limiting beliefs, and honestly, you will get through it. Like, if I was able to get through it thinking I wouldn't ever be able to have a fulfilling sexual relationship with a woman that I was really attracted to, you will be able to get there. Exposure therapy, doing the thing that scares you, not trying to be good, not putting your attention on pleasing her, making sure that you actually have got the right partner. So a woman that compliments your body, like penis compliments, go a long way as well. I don't know about you, do, but when it comes down to taking the clothes off, it's actually just nice to get a little bit of affirmation that, yeah, you look good, this is going well, this is nice. And maybe after the event, you get some like compliments, but like don't try hard to be complimented. Like don't finish and be like, how was that? How was that good? Like, how do I stack up to your other like partners? And that was always another thing that I was like terrified of as well. I was always like, oh, how do I stack up to the rest of her part? Like all this stuff that I think young guys just go through, and I get it, and it's okay, it's normal, and you don't need to be perfect. You just need to be progressive. Just show up and like don't take yourself too seriously. Like that's something that I always come back to it, but it's this quote from Macbeth in Shakespeare, and it's life's but a walking shadow. A poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. That really liberated me. It made me realize that, yeah, we get an hour upon this stage, and as somebody who is prone to chronic overthinking and self-deprecating thoughts and just thinking too many steps ahead, it helps me to get grounded in my own mortality and realize that in 100 years, none of this is going to matter. In 20 years' time, I would give anything to be back in this moment right now and actually have this joy of fucking up and making those mistakes. And it's all lessons. And I guess as well, there should be like a little aside about making sure that you're not like a fat fuck, making sure like by doing like leg exercises, like doing squats was useful. But honestly, dude, to me, I was doing all of those things. I was training. I was in like relatively good shape. I wasn't doing any like stupid, like, nonsense stuff. I wasn't drinking too much. I was doing all the physical things. My problem was psychological. There was nothing physically wrong with me. I was waking up, I was having morning erections, I was getting those boners with myself when I was watching fucking Pornhub. Like, I didn't have any problem there. But when it came to being with another human being, like, I was just terrified of being vulnerable. I was terrified of being vulnerable and like kind of like showing my real. It just got messy. So like I was doing all those physical things. For me, my thing was psychological. Maybe you want to get like a physical test. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I'm not an expert on this stuff. This is how I and not how to. This is just things that I went through, things that I did that worked for me. Hopefully it's useful for you as well. But I just wanted to share this because I was like, more people need this message. More men out there just need to know that it's okay not to be perfect. It's okay not to be a robot. And this is not me being like, okay, just start being a sniveling mess and all this fucking nonsense. Like, no. But I think just taking the responsibility, doing the thing that actually terrifies you, and then using cold approach as a way of bringing women into your life and, being at peace with the perceived worst case scenario. I managed to overcome my fears, and, I guarantee if you actually give yourself permission to suck, and you know you'll get there as well. So no idea if any of this was useful. It probably wasn't. No, I think some of the things that I've said have been useful. But if you've enjoyed this stream, then consider giving it a like. I think that's fair. And yeah, I hope that this has helped. I think for one person out there, this has been the exact video that you needed to hear. I think it's easy to see someone like me and think, oh yeah, this guy's got it all figured out. He's having a cool lifestyle. He looks relatively good. You know, he's, you know, whatever. And it's like, nah, dude, like, you know, you never know what's going on underneath the bonnet. Do you know what I mean? It's like you can see someone's social media, you can see like 1% of their life and think, oh, it's so easy for this guy. He's got it all figured out. It's like, nah, dude, we're all cripplingly insecure. Deep down, none of us feel as though we're actually enough, and we're all terrified of not receiving love from the feminine, and it's okay. Yeah, it's all right, but don't wallow in your own self-pity. You know, don't lay it like, whoa, woe is me. I'm never going to change. No woman's ever going to want me. It's like, nah, you know, you actually have to fucking do something with your life, don't you? But anyway, yeah, this has been good. I might know nothing. The more I learn, the less I know. And yeah, hopefully you found this useful. I love yous, and I'll speak to you again tomorrow. Mwah!